or economic event. Radio Algeria International, our voice in the world.
This is the English service of Radio Algeria International. It's time for the news.
The Minister of State in charge of hydrocarbons, Mohamed Al-Qab, has reaffirmed Algeria's commitment to gas cooperation and energy security during his meeting with GCF Secretary General Philippe Michelbila. The President of the Republic, Mr. Abdelmajid Tebboune, has stressed that health security in Africa depends on sustainable investment in health systems, strengthening surveillance capacities and supporting scientific research. Several Palestinians have been killed in airstrikes launched by the Israeli army forces against various areas of the Gaza Strip. Hello and welcome to Radio Algeria International. I'm your host, Miriam Bershi. The Minister of State in charge of hydrocarbons, Mohamed Al-Qab, has reaffirmed here in Algiers commitment to continue supporting efforts aimed at strengthening dialogue and cooperation among member states of the Gas Exporting Countries Forum, GECF, while working to develop projects to enhance energy security and promote the role of natural gas in the global energy mix. During a meeting with GCF Secretary General Philippe Michelbila, the discussions highlighted Algeria's long experience in the gas sector and its readiness to share expertise with member states, as well as the importance of coordinated action on global market challenges, investment and supply security. Both sides also emphasized follow-up to the Algiers Declaration and the 2024 GCF Summit outcomes. Key topics including the strategic Trans-Saharan gas pipeline project linking Algeria, Niger and Nigeria, and efforts to strengthen the GCF's role as a platform for dialogue and research, particularly through the development of the Gas Research Institute. The Secretary General of the Gas Exporting Countries Forum, GCS, Philippe Michelbila, is on a working visit to Algeria aimed at strengthening consultation and coordination on development in global natural gas markets and the future of the gas industry. The visit, running until June 23rd, focuses on key issues including energy supply security, investment in the sector, the energy transition and enhanced scientific and technical cooperation among member countries. He will also visit the Gas Research Institute in Algiers and inspect Sonatrach's pipeline transport operations monitoring centre. The President of the Republic, Mr. Abdelmajid Tebboune, has stressed that health security in Africa depends on sustainable investment in health systems, strengthening surveillance capacities and supporting scientific research. In an address made on his behalf by the Health Minister, Mohamed Sadiq Ait Masoudan, during a high-level African Union meeting on the spread of the Ebola virus held via video conference, the President stressed that building a safer Africa in terms of health is not achieved only when crises arise, but begins with sustainable investment in health systems, strengthening surveillance and early warning capacities, developing qualified human resources, as well as supporting scientific research and local production of health products and vaccines. Mr. Masoudan added that Algeria was ready, beyond financial support, to share its expertise with other African countries to strengthen their ability to respond to health risks.
Algeria reiterates its readiness to support and notably to provide a financial contribution via the Health Ministry and the Algerian Agency for Health Security, and to share its experience and expertise with African countries to serve the peoples of our continent and reinforce our capacities to face up to health risks.
In this context, the President affirmed that Algeria is continuing to strengthen its national health security system and develop its capacities in prevention and rapid response to health emergencies. The Financial Action Task Force, FATF, has congratulated Algeria on its significant progress in combating money laundering, leading to the country's removal from the grey list of jurisdictions under increased monitoring, a decision unanimously adopted by FATF members during a plenary session held in Paris. Mohamed Khatel has the details.
The decision follows successful on-site evaluations and the completion by Algeria of its action plan within the required deadlines. FATF highlighted improvements in supervision mechanisms, including new procedures, risk assessments, supervisory guidelines, inspections, and the application of effective and dissuasive sanctions. It also noted Algeria's progress in strengthening frameworks for beneficial ownership transparency, suspicious transaction reporting, targeted financial sanctions against terrorism financing, and a risk-based approach to supervising non-profit organizations without disrupting legitimate activities. Algeria's delegation at the meeting included Finance Minister Abdelkarim Bouzerd and Central Bank Governor Mohamed Lamine Lebou, reflecting the high-level commitment to financial integrity reforms. Officials and business leaders described the decision as a strong signal of confidence in Algeria's financial system. The Speaker of the Algerian Economic Renewal Council, CREA, Kamal Moula, said the move strengthens economic transparency, improves governance, and enhances Algeria's attractiveness for investment and international partnerships. Algeria's removal from the grey list is seen as a recognition of its reforms and as a boost to international confidence in the resilience and credibility of its financial system, while supporting efforts to promote growth, investment, and economic integration.
Still with national news, instructed by the President of the Republic, Mr. Abdelmajid Tebboune, Prime Minister Sifiri presided over the official ceremony marking Algeria's National Artist Day at the Abdelatif Rahad International Conference Center here in Algiers. The ceremony also honored the winners of the 2026 Ali Mashi Prize for Young Creators across multiple artistic and literary fields, including literature, music, theatre, film, and visual arts. The Minister of Culture and Arts, Malika Bendouda, stressed that the award reflects the state's commitment to supporting young talent, promoting creativity, and strengthening national artistic production.
The orientation given by the President of the Republic, Abdelmajid Tebboune, has emphasized the importance of protecting the artist and setting a creative environment necessary for his inspiration. And this is the objective we seek to achieve. And we also seek thanks to your collaboration to meet. The complementarities existing between the documents and legislation on the one hand, and the scene and creation spaces on the other, are contributing to the achievement of these objectives. It is necessary that the artist regained its position not only thanks to the state support, but also thanks to the efforts deployed and to the stimulation of innovators in all spaces.
Held annually in the presidential patronage, the event highlights the importance of artists in preserving national heritage and reflects the state's commitment to improving their professional conditions and reinforcing culture as a pillar of national unity and development. Algeria has secured several important positions and memberships within the structures and mechanisms of the African Union, further confirming its privileged status within the continental organization and the confidence placed in its diplomacy across Africa. In this context, Algeria's ambassador and permanent representative to the AU, Mohamed Khaled, will chair the Permanent Representatives Committee, PRC, which is responsible for human rights, democracy and governance. Algeria has been elected to several key positions and committees within the African Union, reinforcing its strong diplomatic standing and influence in the organization. Mohamed Khaled will chair the EU Permanent Representative Committee on Governance, Human Rights and Democracy. In addition, Algeria has joined multiple EU bodies covering issues such as Agenda 2063, environmental policy, culture, youth, transport and migration. The Secretary of State to the Minister of Foreign Affairs in charge of the National Community Abroad, Soufiane Chaib, has met with members of the Algerian diaspora in Doha, Qatar, to strengthen ties with the community and to listen to their concerns. To the Middle East, several Palestinians have been killed in airstrikes launched by the Israeli army forces against various areas of the Gaza Strip. Mohamed Khatil has more details.
Others were wounded in the attacks, which notably targeted the district of Gaza City. This came as 97 people, including 35 patients and 62 others who were accompanying them, have been evacuated via the Rafah crossing point to receive medical care outside Gaza. The Palestinian Red Crescent took part in the operation launched as part of humanitarian efforts aimed at ensuring the evacuation amid major challenges facing the health system, which is on the verge of collapse on account of the Israeli continued raids. In this connection, the Israeli authorities have banned the entry of Greek trade union delegation members into the occupied Palestinian territory. The General Union of the Palestinian Workers said the delegation's members, who were on a mission of solidarity with the Palestinian labor movement, were intercepted on their arrival at the airport and submitted to questioning before being expelled. It denounced the move, saying it is not an isolated incident, but it is part of the deliberate policy initiated by the Israeli authorities with the aim of isolating the Palestinian society by systematically restricting its access to foreign delegation members, including those holding European passports. The Palestinian Workers' General Union denounced the measure as arbitrary and urged the international community, including the EU, the International Trade Unions Confederation, and the International Labour Organization, to intervene and to condemn such practices and to request that the international guarantees related to the freedom of movement be respected.
U.S. Vice President J.D. Vance and the Speaker of the Iranian Parliament, Mohammad Baghir Ghalibaf, has resumed today in Switzerland their discussions aimed at reaching a lasting peace in the Middle East. The discussions held under Pakistan's mediation came 4 days after the two countries signed a memorandum of understanding paving the way for negotiations. In Lebanon, 7 people, including 1 woman and 1 child, were killed in a series of airstrikes or air raids carried out today by the Israeli army against several areas of the country's southern part. The health ministry was quoted by the news agency ANI as saying that several others were wounded in the attacks, which targeted a locality in the Bekaa Valley. The wave of strikes launched by the Israeli occupying forces against the Bekaa and the southern regions the past 2 days has claimed at least 83 lives. The UN Security Council has expressed concern over significant military reinforcements around El Obeid, a major Sudanese city where the UN fears an imminent attack by the Rapid Support paramilitary forces. The Council said it was deeply alarmed by the military build-up and warned of the imminent risk of mass atrocities in El Obeid. And the UN High Commissioner for Human Rights Volker Turk has expressed regret over the European Union's new migration return legislation, stressing that European countries cannot transfer their human rights obligations to third countries. Mohamed Khatel has the details.
In a statement, Mr. Turk said that EU member states could not simply externalize their human rights obligations, adding that the detention and return of vulnerable people, including children, were particularly sensitive public policy operations that carried a high risk of human rights violations. He stressed the need to ensure full protection of human dignity in practice as well as in law. The UN High Commissioner stated that international human rights and refugee law were clear, noting that no one must be returned to a place where they faced serious rights violations. Turk also underlined that expulsion decisions had to be based on individual assessments and should not take effect before appeal procedures were completed. He added that the European Parliament had adopted a regulation on the return of rejected asylum seekers, which included provisions allowing EU member states to establish agreements for detention centres outside the EU's borders, known as return hubs.
With this last bit of news, we come to the end of our news bulletin. Stay tuned to Radio Algeria International.
The international event of the week.
A major event this week was the signing in Versailles, France, of a memorandum of understanding between the US and Iran. The signing of the memorandum attracted worldwide attention as it seeks to end the hostilities, reopen the Strait of Hormuz, and set a framework for a broader peace settlement. The 14-point document serves as an interim framework allowing for a 60-day period during which the US and Iran are expected to work towards a comprehensive settlement. It includes commitments to cease the hostilities on all fronts, reopen maritime routes, discuss sanctions relief, and address Iran's nuclear program under international supervision. It also provides for mechanisms to monitor the implementation of the commitment and set a roadmap for future negotiations. The US president praised the agreement as a major win for the US, whereas the Iranian President Masoud Pezeshkian asserted that his country remained committed and steadfast to global peace. It was held by the UN, the European Council, and by several countries, including Algeria and Egypt, as a major progress and the most significant diplomatic opening between Washington and Tehran, hoping it will create a pathway towards a definitive agreement. Asked on whether the success of such a process depends on whether the negotiators can bridge long-standing disagreements during the coming 60 days, our political analyst from California, Hamoud Salhi, had the following.
The success of this process will largely depend on whether both sides can bridge their long-standing differences during the next 60 days. Indeed, there is a great deal at stake here. The memorandum outlines important commitments. However, agreements on paper have to be followed by a genuine political will. For progress to be made, negotiators must be prepared to engage seriously and give diplomacy a real opportunity to succeed. Many observers would not want to see a repeat of previous round at stake that saw the United States ending the negotiations before meaningful compromises could have been explored. Much then will depend on how closely United States and Iranian positions can be aligned and whether President Donald Trump remains committed to pursuing a diplomatic end to the conflict. At the same time, Iran may feel that it enters these negotiations from a position of relative strength despite the heavy human and material cost of the war. If Iranian leaders conclude that the process no longer serves their national interest, they could decide to withdraw. To prevent that outcome, the United States will need to demonstrate consistency, credibility, and a genuine commitment to ending the conflict. Israel's reservations about the memorandum are also important. Israel leaders see the agreement as not adequate, and they are opposed to it very strongly. Broadly speaking, Israeli policymakers have long viewed direct U.S. pressure on Iran as serving Israel's strategic interest, and they drag the United States in this war. Israel also, in that context, has spent decades allegedly accusing Iran of being a threat, with nuclear ambition. If Israel continue to oppose this agreement and the United States don't stand against it, the 60-day period may end without achieving a final agreement.
The Memorandum of Understanding stipulates that the US, Iran and allies will declare an immediate and permanent end to military operations on all fronts, including Lebanon. It notes that neither side will initiate military operations or threaten each other and ensure the territorial integrity and sovereignty of Lebanon. Although the memorandum allows for de-escalation in violence, it does not guarantee an end to the Israeli airstrikes on Lebanon. In this connection, Israeli officials have already stated that they do not consider themselves bound by the agreement and reiterated their intention to maintain security positions in southern Lebanon. Asked if the Israeli violence escalates again in Lebanon, it could undermine the US-Iran diplomatic process, our political analyst Hamoud Salhi has this to say.
Renewed Israeli military escalation and violation of international law in Lebanon could seriously undermine the US-Iran diplomatic process. The MOU calls for an immediate and permanent end to military operation across all fronts and emphasizes Lebanon's sovereignty and territorial integrity. Israeli officials have already stated that they do not consider themselves bound by the agreements and have reiterated their intention to maintain military positions and conduct operations that are clearly in violation of the agreement and international law. If Israeli attacks continue, Iran and its allies would expect the U.S. to rein in Israel. If it doesn't, the Iranians would interpret this as evidence that the agreement is being selectively applied and then the broader peace framework lacks credibility. And hence, this leads to their withdrawal from what they perceive as a futile exercise of negotiations. Continued Israeli violations of international law and the sovereignty of Lebanon put at serious risk the negotiations. The United States must act to prevent that from happening if its intentions are to see this process through and possibly lead to an agreement that ends this war.
The Memorandum of Understanding could have a serious impact on Lebanon as it creates strong diplomatic incentives for de-escalation by trying to reduce the risk of confrontation. Its impact on Lebanon will depend on whether all regional actors translate diplomatic commitments into concrete actions on the ground.
The museums of the world are the window into the history and creativity of a particular country. It is here where visitors are able to explore the past generation and the development of the country and marvel at the historic relics and artifacts that stand as a reminder to these ancient times. In Algeria, the National Museum of Antiquities in Algiers is one of the most fascinating and comprehensive museums in the country. It is where the past meets the present and where Algeria comes to life. What makes the National Museum of Antiquities so unique is the fact that it does not only showcase pieces and history. It does not only showcase pieces and history of Algiers, but has a wonderful collection that has been sourced from towns and cities across the country. Having displays from around Algeria gives visitors a comprehensive look at the country. One location making the National Museum of Antiquities a very popular attraction and educational tool. Some of the rare artifacts that visitors can look forward to viewing are the totemic warriors from the Libyan period, ivory carvings, and a breathtaking coin collection. The sculptures that are located throughout the museum are magnificent and include the 3rd century child with an eagle, a sculpture from Shachel, and wonderful bronzes. The museum is also home to an extensive art collection, ancient mosaics, and dozens of priceless manuscripts. The National Museum of Antiquities has an exclusive collection of exhibits and offers an extraordinary opportunity to explore the cultures, traditions, and age-old beauty of this fascinating country. When in Algiers, visitors are recommended to add the museum to their list of activities, as they will not be disappointed at the wonders that are contained within the walls of the National Museum of Antiquities. From the capital Algiers to the western city of Tlemcen, the town of Tlemcen is noted for its flourishing vineyards and olive plantations, as well as its carpet, textile, and leather handicrafts. With its centuries of fascinating history and rich culture, a blend of Berber, Arab, French, and Andalusian, Tlemcen is a popular tourist destination. Visitors to the town may want to take some time to explore the Tlemcen Museum, which provides an interesting overview of the history and culture of this picturesque Algerian town and surrounding areas. Originally housed in the Sidi Bel Hassan Mosque in Tlemcen, the museum collection has been moved to a college building which was built in 1905. The Tlemcen Museum occupies 2 floors of the building, and the collection includes a variety of coins and artifacts from the Almoravid 11th century, Marinid and Zayyanid dynasties. The Marinid and Zayyanid dynasties struggled for domination of the area in the 13th and early 14th century, each taking and losing rulership a number of times until Tlemcen came under Ottoman rule in the 16th century. Following a decade of resistance, Tlemcen succumbed to the French in 1842. Carved epitaphs from the royal tomb of Boudbil, the last Moorish king of Granada, who died in Tlemcen in 1494, are among the treasures to be seen at the Tlemcen Museum, as well as a marble standard cubit measure bearing the date 1328. Also displayed at the museum are some amazing oil paintings by Algerian artist Abdelhalim Hamesh dating back to the 1940s. Located in the oasis town of Beni Abbas, the capital city of the Saura area of Algeria, the Beni Abbas Museum houses an impressive display of desert fauna, fossils, and traditional arts and crafts, such as carpets, wall hangings, ceramic items, wood carvings, and jewelry. The museum, which is supported by the Saharan Research Center, displays an extensive range of different types of dates, one of the mainstay crops of oasis towns and villages in Algeria. Ancient local legend claims that the spring which waters this lush oasis came about as a miracle. It is said that a traveler pushed his walking stick into the ground, declaring that if he should die in this place, water would come out of the ground. He apparently died the following night, possibly due to lack of water, and the spring began to flow, continuing to do so to this day. The town of Beni Abbas is a popular tourist destination, and the Beni Abbas Museum provides fascinating insight into the history and culture of the town and its people. Certainly, it is well worth a visit when exploring this charming Algerian town and its surroundings.
تشاهدون برامج إذاعة الجزائر الدولية بالصوت والصورة عبر تقنية